Welcome to JLive. I'm JArts Executive Director Laura Mandel, and as always, it's great to be here with you for JLive. As you may know, JLive is our series of virtual cultural events that bring us together to explore and celebrate the diverse world of Jewish culture, art, and creative expression. We're bringing you bite-sized conversations with the best Boston area talent. Today, I'm excited to be with artist Rachel Hammerman, who I actually met a few months ago through Etsy, of all things. I was searching for a special mezuzah for our newly renovated JArts office and happened upon her whimsical and beautifully created mezuzot. The commission of the one has led to others, and I couldn't help but think that you would all be fascinated by the work she does. So here we are. If you have questions during the conversation, please share them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ask as many questions as time allows. So without further ado, Rachel, when we talked the other day, I loved hearing your description of your professional art making journey because so much of it really resonates with my own art making experience. Can you tell me or tell all of us how you came to make mezuzot and how it was maybe a bit of a departure from what you did in art school?
Yes. First of all, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Ariella and Dekel and JArts for this platform and also for including me and looking out for artists. So thank you very much. And I'll just jump in. Every year I host an open studio. It's part of Rosendale Open Studios. And when people come in, they'll see drawings, they'll see miniature figures, and then they'll see like a whole wall of mezuzot. And people often ask like if there are multiple artists in there, and I'll say, nope, it's just me. And then they'll ask like, well, how do I reconcile doing all these different types of work? And not that I think everything needs to be so packaged, but everybody likes a clean story, so do I. So I'll try to reconstruct how it is that I came to work in all these different media. So to begin in college, towards the end of college, I was working on this very tall sculpture. It's 8 feet, that's me by comparison, mirror image. And so this was a structure that I built that had plexiglass and mirrors all balanced and making sort of fractured spaces. And you would approach this construction and find, depending on where you stood, kind of like if you stand in front of the Hancock Tower, different images reflected based on what angle you were at. So basically it was inviting the viewer to come in and sort of look in this maze of chaotic worlds and sort of recognize at the same time you were standing still. So all of these worlds were coming in while you were still. Then I graduated and I no longer had studio access and I was in a tiny apartment, so I adapted to something more portable, which was drawing. Started simple ink drawings, and at first they were from my memory of where the lines and where the angles were on my sculpture. And then as time went on, just like everything, the reference to that became farther and they became more self-referential and referencing the environments in which they were created. So show an example. So what would happen is first the pen would try to find the horizon line of the page. And so a horizon line, like in a perspective drawing, is the point at which all lines have to relate in order to make them legitimately hold. And so what I would find is that as the pen was going, it would get distracted by the line that came before it, and then the line that came after that, and after that. So soon enough, they would just, the horizon line shifted depending on where the lines were. And they built themselves into, again, lots of chaotic worlds. And so again, the idea was when you pan out, you're in this chaos. I don't know how well you can see. You're in this chaos, but you're also still, it's flat. It's not moving, and you're lost in this maze. So that was kind of the concept of the drawing and the sculpture. And then I still do these drawings, but they do take a long time. And my family started growing, and my time was less. And I found I wanted something that was more tangible. So I started to work on these little figures, and some of them are sort of whimsical, funny, maybe. Some of them are maybe more serious. and some maybe more suggestive. So when you look at these, you might think, well, what does this have anything to do with what came before? And maybe not. In my mind, I think that these were the characters that were living inside of those chaotic worlds. They were the ones that sort of plowed through all of those lines woven together, and maybe this is what you would find inside of one of those reflections of chaos. So it's that moment, it's that pause that you were taking, and then there you are standing in front of it, and you're saying, like, so you come up to it and you say, well, what are you thinking? And maybe he thinks, what are you thinking? And maybe you're not thinking anything, so you move to the next one, or maybe you are. But anyway, you've taken this moment to engage with this or whichever. So these were the pauses. So now I promise I'll get to the mezuzahs. So the mezuzahs came by because in 2015, my oldest friend in the world had a baby, and I wanted to make her something that was unique and special and long lasting. And so I made her a Goodnight Moon mezuzah. That was a book that we shared a love of. And I haven't stopped making them since. It was kind of a Naseh V'Nishma type of thing, which means it was something that I started doing, and then as I kept making them, my appreciation for that form grew and meant more to me. First of all, on a conceptual level, a mezuzah is an object that you're putting specifically in an entryway. So it separates between when you're going from one space to another, from outside to inside, or from one room to the other room. So again, you're going from space to space, chaos to chaos, and it's that pause. So in that way, it's, even though it clearly departed from the look of the other work, conceptually, it was about that pause. And interestingly, a mezuzah is a mitzvah, so it's a commandment. Obviously, it's your choice whether you hang one or not, but the idea that it is a statute to self-identify for Jewish people is an interesting thing. And I found in my own life, it's something that is true. Not that I ever tried to run away from Judaism, but it's not something that I could, even if I wanted to. And I've said that mezuzot are kind of like tattoos. Or birthmarks, depending on your sensitivities. It's something that you hang up on your wall, and even if you take it down, there's still the marks that it was there. Like, you can go to an old Jewish neighborhood in the US or in Europe, and it can be haunting. From where my standpoint is, I like it to be a living history, and so I would like it to be something that we celebrate. You're declaring it. If you want to hang it up, it should be something that is personal, meaningful, and wouldn't kill it if it was fun. So I make, there's really no theme that I wouldn't tackle. You can challenge me. This would be one for, like, say, somebody whose relationship to Judaism was based on their grandmother, or like a Linda Richmond type of character. Maybe it's through food. So this, I don't know how well it comes out. It's like the Campbell soup can that says Boobies matzo ball soup. I'm prone to art historical references. So this is I call it Yiddish Gothic. Maybe it's your passion for justice, something that's obviously needed now more than ever and always. So yeah, there's really there's no way not to celebrate it, to me. On that level, the mezuzah itself is an art form that, or is a ritual that is universal. Depending on which denomination you are, a kippah, or reading the Torah, or wearing a talit, could be a gendered thing. Some only men do it, some women do it, but it's not universal. A mezuzah, it is for women, men, it is commanded for anybody. So I like the idea that it's for everyone. On that same note, there's no other word for mezuzah, where a kippah could be a yarmulke, it could be a skull cap, a beanie, a talis, a talit, a prayer shawl. There's no other word for mezuzah. Or you could say mezuzah if you have better pronunciation than I do. But I think there's something subtly beautiful about the fact that everybody needs to call it one thing. There's only one word for it. There's no synonyms. So I think that's very meaningful. And finally, I'll end on a cute anecdote, which of course is going to backtrack on the fact that I just said that it was universal, but they are still universal until this moment. So it has to do with the way that Ashkenazim, which I am an Ashkenazic Jew, hang a mezuzah. So there was one rabbi, Rashi, who said that the mezuzah should hang vertically. And then his grandson came several generation down and said it should hang horizontally. I guess he had wide door frames. And then, so there was a debate. And then like 150 years later, another rabbi came and said, let's split the difference and do it at a slant. And so we do it at a slant. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's brilliant. I wish that all conflicts could be solved so simply, and obviously they don't, but anyway, I find that charming. So
I think it's great. Rachel, I love how you've taken something that is historically and ritualistically so clearly Jewish, but really broadened it to something that we can all understand and appreciate. I have to tell you, you inspired me. My 5-year-old was asking me the other day about mezuzot and why we have them. And I explained to him, when he's nervous about things in the house, if it's monsters or whatever, that it's there to protect him. And he goes, oh, I get that. So I really love this notion that there is this deep tradition of why we have mezuzot, and that there's the Shema in there, but also the way you've elevated it and taken it, it's like the way we do art to both these days. It just elevates it in a whole other way. Love it.
Yeah, and I know that you make tubot. To put your own personality and your own perspective in it, it only enriches the form. It makes it more meaningful to the person whose house it's in. So.
Totally. And I feel like, I think the reason I love your work so much is that's everything we do at JArts. It's how do you take the tradition and make it relevant to your own life? And I think this is such a concrete way to do that. It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so I told you all that I met Rachel through Etsy to commission her to make a mezuzah for our office. So I want to share ours with you because I want her to be able to tell us a little bit about the process. So if you can see what I'm holding in my hand, I will angle it slightly better. What I said to Rachel is, here's a few things we love, including Roy Lichtenstein paintings. What do you got? And she came back to me with a couple examples and possibilities, and this is the one we went with. But I thought the process was fabulous. She's so clever with thinking about how the shin is incorporated and the story behind it. So would you tell everybody a little bit about our mezuzah and about the process?
Sure. First of all, I love that you said Roy Lichtenstein. I hadn't done a Roy Lichtenstein before. And that was like opening floodgates for me. No pun intended.
Yes. Happy to inspire.
Yes, thank you. It can go a lot of ways. Some people don't give me any prompts, so that prompt was great. It is important to me. I know it's an art object, and I said that it should be about your personality, but it is important to me that it is still a Jewish object, and it does still have a holy text inside of it. And so the shin has to be there. There does have to follow the rules of what a mezuzah should be, how it should be made. So beyond that, though, I think for this one, Roy Lichtenstein, obviously known for pop art, for his big bubble declarations. And so it was clear that the shin was going to have to go into the bubble. Shin makes the shh noise, and she's drowning, so it was there for the taking. It would be, oh, shh. And literally it is, oh God. So it was just kind of a low-hanging fruit, I guess. but again, like it brings, I think it brings joy to the tradition, because you are saying like, oh God, when you pass a mezuzah. So that's literally what it's there for. So, I think it's in keeping.
I love it. So you've talked a little bit about your art making process and the commissioning and the ideas. Can you actually show us technically, like, the materials you use and how you do this? Of course, when we were talking earlier, my first question was, well, I know it's polymer clay, but is it Fimo or Sculpey? And I know some of us out there might be wondering. So go ahead and show us.
Right. So it is Sculpey. This is Sculpey. Sculpey 3. There's different kinds of Sculpey. And I've experimented with many of them, and some crack more than others. This is the one that I've had the most success with. So the way it starts is a test tube, used for obvious reasons, because you can put the cloth or the scroll inside of it. You have to get one that's big enough. If anyone's interested, I can send that around, but it won't say you can buy it on Amazon, but you can buy them on Amazon. Then you take some wire, you make a little loop for both sides. So you would take 2 loops, one on each side. Then you take the polymer clay and you wrap the clay in and make sure that the loops are stuck inside. So you want it to be thick enough so that it's not going to crack out. And then there are, the way that you because this is soft. So the way that it gets hardened is it goes in the oven at 275 for 15 minutes. And you don't do it anymore or it'll crack and all of your time will be gone. But so you have to work on it wet. But first you put the base all around it, so you have a smooth canvas to work on. And then I use, to make details, I use toothpicks, or I use actually dental tools, because they have different shapes and you can clean them off easily, so they're reusable. And then when it's all good to go, then you put it in the oven, 15 minutes, and that's it. You put the cloth inside, you put a little cork on top, all done. Yes, it's okay to use a home oven. I saw that question pop up.
Great, yes.
75. Yeah.
And I just have to say, for the past few weeks, within JLives, we've been talking about things people can do in this time to express themselves, with everything that's happening in the world. And I, like you, Rachel, have defaulted to polymer clay in the past because it is easy to have at home. So whether or not you have the capacity to make details the way Rachel so brilliantly does, I love that many of us can do a variation of what she's talking about here. So I think that's a beautiful thing. So, okay, will you show us one or two mezuzah, more mezuzah, because I just think they're so brilliantly done.
So let's see. This is an Albert Einstein. Okay. This is a constructed shin. So I was saying, like, it's important to me that the shin or the shaddai or whatever be incorporated. And so it's like a little figure pulling it up from the sky. This is kind of more of an elaborate one. This is the Empire State Building. So sometimes I get creative with the tops. So this is still the top inside, but you leave a little space and then you can still pop it on.
So clever.
Thank you.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a feeling one day we might have requests for a class, Rachel. I just have this feeling. So if anybody's interested, reach out.
Yeah, reach out.
Yeah, this is fabulous. And it's amazing to me how quickly our time flies by on this. So I think it's time for us to wrap up. But something I want to say is that some of the mezuzah Rachel just showed are actually available on Etsy. And like I mentioned, she's incredible about making commissions. She and I have been going back and forth on a few. A friend just had a baby. I'm figuring out what book we should try. So I have to tell you, Rachel, you are a delight to work with. I hope everybody who is in need of a gift will find her on Etsy. It's her handle, or her name is Figures of Speech, just so everyone knows. Before we wrap up, I would be remiss if I did not tell you that tomorrow night, Tuesday, we have the klezmer great Hankus Netsky performing for JLive Music. Again, that's tomorrow night, Tuesday, June 9th. On Friday, we have Annabelle Rabia, who is the brains behind the Awapi Kitchen pop-up, which is an Iraqi pop-up on Friday, June 12th at 4 o'clock, and many more to follow after that. Of course, as the JArts tagline says, let culture connect us, which is exactly what we're doing right now. To make this possible, we rely on generous support from community like you. So please consider donating if you like what you're seeing with JLive. The donate link will be in the chat. Rachel, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I know I have gotten the bug of commissioning mezuzah. So like I said, please find her on Etsy. And if you have other questions, please just let us know. Rachel, I'm sure, would be happy to answer. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see y'all soon.
Bye.